Hello and welcome to another 31 Days of Horror review. Yeah, so film we looked at is one you've probably all seen from 2016 called The Barn. Now we watched it on Blu-ray. I have it on Blu-ray, and I don't know where I put it. So yeah, and James is sleeping, so I'm kind of trying to keep it down here. So. One of the funny things about this one was we picked this because thought Leslie might like it. And you'll see she's not here. She watched the film, if by watching means she sat there and was on her phone most of the time. Yeah, for some reason she just couldn't get into the movie, and as such, she was like, I can't really review it because I didn't really watch it, so there's that. So take that for what you will. But yes, it's the 2016 film called The Barn, which I think kind of got a little bit of notoriety because it released like a video game at the same time that the film was coming out, so it had this double marketing thing going on. The film runs about an hour and a half long. It's just under an hour and a half long. Pretty good runtime, if you ask me. It's written and directed by a Justin Seaman, who prior to this film had done two other movies, which you've probably never heard of. One was a documentary and the other one was a drama. I didn't recognize them. The film is mainly made up of a bunch of people you would never heard of, except for maybe a few people. One, there's a character called Chris, who's played by Cortland Woodard, who was in a horror film prior to this called The Poltergeist of Borley Forest. Never heard of the movie, never seen the movie, don't think I own the movie. Maybe I have to check it out. But where the film really gets kind of its star power, we'll say, is from two characters. One, Dr. Rock, played by Ari Lehman, who essentially his claim to fame. He hasn't been in a ton, but he was in Hell a Phone, Terror Overload, Easter Sunday, Cheerleader Camp, To the Death, as well as a bunch of other low-budget horror films. But his claim to fame is he was Jason in the original Friday the 13th. You have a kid at the end of the film. That's who he was. So, use that, get into horror movies, do your thing, right? The other person of note is the character of Miss Barnhart, who was played by Linnea Quigley. Yes, I don't even need to get into some of the films she's been in, but let's do it. Graduation Day, Savage Street, Silent Night, Deadly Night, The Return of the Living Dead, Creepazoids, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, and probably 100 other movies you've watched as a horror fan. Just saying. You know who she is. I don't need to get into it, really, do I? I said it was an hour and a half. The film itself, what is it about, right? It's a film that plays on the whole, 1980s nostalgia factor. It takes place in 1989. And it's got some friends, Sam and Josh. They're trying to enjoy, what's left of their final Devil's Night before graduating high school. I don't understand why graduating high school and Devil's Night, this is their final Devil's Night. Why? Does graduating high school stop that? I don't know. I thought Devil's Night was Devil's Night, but maybe there's some rules I just don't know about Devil's Night. Essentially, what happens is they run into a problem when they and some other friends decide to take a detour to a rock concert. Alright, well, if you're going to go see a rock concert, Devil's Knight's a pretty good one, right? Um, and so, excuse me, on their way to the rock concert, they, kind of run into a problem and end up going to this barn and awakening whatever the evil spirits or the evil entities that are contained within. We'll say that without giving too much away. So it's a lot of after that. It's these teenagers trying to battle the evil forces and the evil creatures or whatever you want to call them from the barn. I should see if I can bring up a copy of the movie poster, because it is a pretty sweet movie poster. So you may have seen this movie poster. It's pretty cool. That's the barn part 2. Or this movie poster. I don't know. There's a few of them out there. The first one that I showed you was the one that I'm most familiar with, and you can see these guys up here. These are kind of like the creatures, the evil creatures that come out. So, it was, I mean, it's not perfect. It's not a 10, but it's far from a 1, right? It was enjoyable. There were definitely some problems with it. It's got a kick-ass, score, soundtrack, whatever you want to call it. The music is fantastic in this film. Definitely, feels that late 1980s vibe going on. The monsters are kind of cool looking and such. Where it kind of falls flat is obviously, your actors and your writer and your director and all those guys. They're all kind of new to the whole thing, so it the budget really shows, I'll say, to a certain degree, and the film looks decent enough, probably better than a lot of the other films that are shot for the same amount of money. But it definitely has some low budget problems. And as you can see, I got a little bit of we'll say a cold from all of the staying up late and watching horror movies every day. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. It's pretty solid. Definitely worth a rewatch. I do give it a recommend, though I'm sure most of you have already seen the film. Part of the biggest thing I liked about this film is like I said, the music and the creature design and the creatures themselves. They do look really good. I just kind of wish there was more backstory to them. Because really, I think there's only really one of them that they kind of really flesh out. The other ones are not so much, and I really wish there had been more of that fleshing out of the evil, as you will. But I mean, in terms of story, it's okay. I mean, there's been a lot worse stories made into movies. And it's relatively easy to follow. I do think it drags on a little bit. Maybe that's why Leslie really wasn't into it. I don't know. But she seemed to be not into it right from the get-go. I think she was just there for the sake of being there. But yeah, The Barn. 3 out of 5. Recommended. More 31 Days of Horror to come? Sure is. Why don't you check it out right now? Or whenever I upload it. I don't know when I'll upload it. Maybe tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Till next video, take care. Have a good one. You like my hat? Yeah, James is going to use this to go trick-or-treating, I'm sure. Because it's small, and he's small.